On Being Crazy by W.E.B. Du Bois. It was 1 o'clock and I was hungry. I walked into a restaurant, seated myself, and reached for the bill of fare. My table companion rose. "Sir," said he, "do you wish to force your company on those who do not want you?" "No," said I. "I wish to eat." "Are you aware, sir, that this is a social equality?" "Nothing of the sort, sir. It is hunger, and I ate." The day's work done, I sought the theater. As I sank into my seat, the lady shrank and squirmed. "I beg pardon," I said. "Do you enjoy being where you're not wanted?" she asked coldly. "Oh, no," I said. "Well, you are not wanted here." I was surprised. "I fear you are mistaken," I said. "I certainly want the music, and I like to think the music wants me to listen to it." "Usher," said the lady, "this is social equality." "No, madam," said the usher. "It is the second movement of Beethoven's Fifth Symphony." After the theater, I sought the hotel where I had sent my baggage. The clerk squalled. "What do you want?" "Rest," I said. "This is a white hotel," he said. I looked around. "Such a color scheme requires a great deal of cleaning," I said. "But I don't know about that I object." "We object," said he. "Then why?" I began, but he interrupted. "We don't keep niggers," he said. "We don't want social equality." "Neither do I replied gently. "I want a bed." I walked thoughtfully to the train. "I'll take a sleeper through Texas. I'm a little bit dissatisfied with this town." "Can't sell you one." "I only want to hire it," said I, "for a couple of nights." "Can't sell you a sleeper in Texas," he maintained. "They consider that social equality." "I call it barbarism," I said, "and I think I'll walk." Walking, I met another wayfarer who immediately walked on the other side of the road, where it was muddy. I asked his reason. "Niggers are dirty," he said. "So is the mud," said I. "Moreover, I am not as dirty as you yet." "But you're a nigger, ain't you?" he asked. "My grandfather was called so." "Well then," he answered triumphantly. "Do you live in the South?" I persisted pleasantly. "Sure," he growled, "and starve there." "I should think you and the Negroes should get together and vote out starvation." "We don't let them vote." "We? Why not?" I said in surprise. "Niggers is too ignorant to vote." But I said, "Yes, I'm certainly what you mean by that." "Well then," he returned, with that curiously inconsequential note of triumph. "Moreover," he said, "I do not want my sister to marry a nigger." I had not seen his sister, so I merely murmured, "Let her say so." "By God, you shan't marry her, even if she says yes." But, I don't want to marry her," I answered, a little perturbed at the personal turn. "Why not?" he yelled, angrier than ever. "Because I am already married, and I rather like my wife." "Is she a nigger?" he asked persistently. "Well," I said again, "her grandmother was called that." "Well then," he shouted in that oddly illogical way. I gave up. "Go on," I said. "Either you are crazy or I am. We both are, he said as he trotted along in the mud.
Primer for Blacks by Gwendolyn Brooks. Blackness is a title, is a preoccupation, is a commitment Blacks are to comprehend, and in which you are to perceive your glory. The conscience shout of all that is white. It's great to be white. The conscience shout of the slack in black is, it's great to be white. Thus all that is white has white strength and yours. The word black has geographic power, pulls everybody in. Blacks here, blacks there, blacks wherever they may be. And remember, you blacks, what they told you. Remember your education. One drop, make it a brand new black. Oh, mighty drop. And because they have given us kindly so many more of our people, blackness stretches over the land. Blackness, the black of it, the rust red of it, the milk and cream of it, the tan and yellow tan of it, the deep brown, middle brown, high brown of it, the olive and ochre of it. Blackness marches on. The huge, the pungent object of our prime outright is comprehend, to salute and love the fact that we are black, which is our ultimate reality, which is the lone ground, from which our meaningful metamorphosis, from which our prosperous staccato group or individual can rise. Self-shriveled blacks begin with gauds and marvelous concession. You are our costume and our fundamental bone. All of you, you colored ones, you Negro ones, those of you who proudly cry, I'm half Indian. Those of you who proudly screech, I've got the blood of George Washington in my veins. All of you, you proper blacks, you half blacks, you wish I weren't blacks, Negroes and niggerines, you.
American history. Those 4 black girls blown up in that Alabama church remind me of 500 Middle Passage blacks in a net, underwater, in Charleston Harbor, so redcoats couldn't find them. Can't find what you can't see, can you? I too sing America. I am the darker brother. They send me to the kitchen when company comes. But I laugh and eat well and grow strong. Tomorrow, I'll be at the table when company comes. Nobody'll dare say to me, eat in the kitchen. Then, besides, they'll see how beautiful I am and be ashamed. I, too, am America.
The Incident by County Cullen. Once riding in old Baltimore, heart filled, head filled with glee, I saw a Baltimorean keep looking straight at me. Now I was 8 and very small, and he was no whit bigger. And so I smiled, but he poked out his tongue and called me nigger. I saw the whole of Baltimore from May until December. Of all the things that happened there, that's all that I remember.
Won't you come celebrate with me what I have shaped into a kind of life? And I had no model. Born into Babylon, both non-white and woman. What did I see except be myself? I made it up. Here, on this bridge between starshine and clay, my one hand holding tight my other hand. Come celebrate with me that every day something has tried to kill me and has failed.
The Flowers by Alice Walker. It seemed to Mayab as she skipped lightly from hen house to pig pen to smokehouse that the days had never been as beautiful as these. The air held a keenness that made her nose twitch. The harvesting of the corn and cotton, peanuts and squash, made each day a golden surprise that caused excited little tremors to run up her jaws. Mayab carried a short knobby stick. She struck out at random at chickens she liked and worked out a beat of a song on the fence around the pig pen. She felt light and good in the warm sun. She was 10, and nothing existed for her but her song, the stick clutched in her dark brown hand, and the tat-a-tat-tat of accompaniment. Turning her back on the rusty boards of her family's sharecropper cabin, Mayab walked along the fence till it ran into the stream made by the spring. Around the spring, where the family got drinking water, silver ferns and wildflowers grew. Along the shallow banks, pigs rooted. Mayab watched the little white bubbles disrupt the thin black scale of soil and the water that silently rose and slid away down the stream. She had explored the woods behind the house many times. Often in late autumn, her mom took her to gather nuts among the fallen leaves. Today she made her own path, bouncing this way and that way, vaguely keeping eye out for snakes. She found, in addition to various common but beautiful, pretty ferns and leaves, an armful of strange blue flowers with velvety ridges and a sweet spuzz bush full of the brown fragrant buds. By 12 o'clock, her arms laden with sprigs of her own findings, she was a mile or more from home. She had often been as far before, but the strangeness of the land made it not as pleasant as her usual haunts. It seemed gloomy in the little cove in which she found herself. The air was damp, the silence close and deep. Mayab began to circle back to the house, back to the peacefulness of the morning. It was then she stepped smack into his eyes. Her heel became lodged in the broken ridge between brow and nose, and she reached down quickly, unafraid to free herself. It was only when she saw his naked grin that she gave a little yelp of surprise. He had been a tall man. From feet to neck, covered a long space. His head lay beside him. When she pushed back the leaves and layers of earth and debris, Mayab saw that he had large white teeth, all of them cracked or broken, long fingers and very big bones. All his clothes had rotted away except some threads of blue jean from overalls. The buckles of the overalls had turned green. Mayab gazed around the spot with interest. Very near where she stepped into the head was a wild pink rose. As she picked it to add to her bundle, she noticed a raised mound, a ring, around the rose's root. It was the rotted remains of a noose, a bit of shredding plow line, now blending benignly into the soil. Around an overhanging limb of a great spreading oak clung another piece, frayed, rotted, bleached, and frazzled, barely there, but spinning restlessly in the breeze. Mayab laid down her flowers, and the summer was over.